Hello, and welcome back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside a very special guest today, Hayes from the Chicago Bears Central Channel. The Chicago Bears had their second padded practice today, a lot more intense than it was on the first day. Kyler Gordan was the MVP of practice by far, going absolutely insane and really taking on the nickname of Spider-Man. Justin Fields continued to improve. He was definitely more challenged by the defense today and looked a lot better in different situations. The defense overall went crazy today. The defensive line is something you don't want to sleep on, and we got more highlights for you guys. But Hayes, welcome to the channel, man. Excited to have you on.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And before we begin, please make sure that you go follow Hayes' channel, Chicago Bears Central. Link is in the description. Make sure to hit the like button on this video, put your thoughts in the comment section below, and make sure to hit that subscribe button. But Hayes, we're going to talk about the offense first today, kicking it off with our guy, Justin Fields. He had a decent day today. He was definitely more challenged, and he talked about that in his interview. You know, what are your overall thoughts of the defense increasing the intensity for Fields, and how do you think he reacted?
I mean, I think it's what is needed to be done, right? You're not gonna when you're going through like simulation and not going through contact. It's fine to look good then, but you want to get ready for the actual games, right? And Justin Fields is a quarterback who's used to having to run for his life, and I'm glad that they're putting that pressure on him, and I'm glad that the defense is stepping up overall because if you test him now, it's getting him ready for the rigors of the season. Nobody's going to take it easy on Justin or the Chicago Bears offense during the actual season. So I'm glad to hear that the defense is stepping up, getting them ready, getting themselves ready. And I think it's going to be one of those iron sharpen iron things. And the defense and offense is going to be ready to hit the field running at the start of the season.
And it was a struggle today too, because Justin had to adjust a lot in regards to, rolling out, having to throw with a lot more sidearm action. But one thing that Justin had to do a lot today was roll out for passes because the pocket was breaking down. Nate Davis, who we can talk about in a second, and Tevin Jenkins were both out. Well, Nate Davis the entire time. Jenkins left off. Nothing to be concerned about. Apparently, it's just cramps. But the offensive line, overall grade today, I'm personally giving them is a C-. I gave them a C+ yesterday. They struggled bad today against this defensive line, which is great because it shows our defensive line is performing better than we expected. But, Darnell Wright was the bright spot of this team. And, he's still bullying veterans. He looks good, especially for a guy who's over 6'6", 300 pounds. The right tackle bodyguard that Justin Fields needed last year is here. Besides, from the overall offensive line perspective, how are you grading them? And how do you feel about Darnell Wright through 2 days of pads?
I think Darnell Wright specifically, I want to start there. Like it's seemingly like he's ready to go. Like Braxton Jones had a rough start last season, right? Like we know extremely rough start, and it seems like Darnell Wright, at least right now, hasn't had that same rough start. Now it's going to be different once it's other teams, but I love what I'm hearing about Darnell Wright as far as the offensive line. Yeah, I think a C grade is fair in this, but I think it's going to help them. Nate Davis still hasn't practiced yet, so I think he's going to help them a lot as well. But overall, they're going to have to go through their lumps. But I like that it helped. Justin Fields started off this a little bit rough, and I like that he finished it strong. So that's signs pointing in the right direction as well.
I mean, the one thing that's concerning me about Darnell Wright is the false start issues that he's having in practice. I know he's a rookie. It's practice where he's excited to be in the NFL. That's awesome. And I'm excited for him. But that's something that killed Bears drives back in 2018 and 2020, and especially last year when the Bears had any sort of momentum in close games. And we were talking about it before the show. 7 losses by 1 score or less. Not the greatest position to be in, and momentum killers will absolutely destroy the Chicago Bears. So that's my big thing that Darnell Wright needs to work on from an offensive line perspective. And you were just talking about Braxton Jones, but out of those 2 tackles, what is the number one thing that they both need to work on together in order to protect Justin Fields the best as possible?
Oh man, I would say just going through the technique and not holding their blocks throughout the whole entire play. I think there are times where Braxton Jones, like especially last season, kind of broke down if the play went on a little bit too long. That's what I want to see him on. And as far as Darnell Wright, just everything with Darnell Wright. And I don't mean that as like a negative, but I mean like he has to get ready for this NFL game. And it's going to be crazy once he starts. And I think as long as he gets the technique and make the right habit right now, it's going to help him start off the season the correct way.
And I agree with that 100%. And one thing that the Bears can do now, especially when he comes back from being healthy, because DeMarcus Walker was also out today due to a light injury. He was seen around the facility, so that's a good sign. They didn't just keep him at home or send him to the hospital or anything. But I want to see them put DeMarcus Walker on Darnell Wright all the time. I don't care if that's not where they're going to have him during the season. Speaking of DeMarcus Walker, but I want him to really push that rookie to no end, because Rasheem Green had a hard struggle today against Darnell Wright in the few videos that we saw. Travis Gibson had a day today. He was able to get around Darnell Wright, but Darnell Wright then picked it up and figured out how to do it. So Darnell Wright, I think, just has to continue to repetition with him, and that's what's going to make him better as well. So I'm excited for him. I think all Bears fans need to be, because he is impressing overall, and he is our 10th overall pick. So he definitely should be doing that. So I'm excited about that. Yeah, sure. Going into our picks, Hayes, a guy named Tyler Scott is making waves in the Bears community right now. Looks really good, along with, Chase Claypool has quietly silenced the haters as well. Had a really nice day today as well. And DJ Moore, his agility was shown on display today, absolutely juking out DBs all day long. From all the years of you being a Bears fan, because, we love our Chicago Bears, and when you're born a Bears fan, it's in your blood.
It's different.
It hits different. And from this group compared to other groups, we had the Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey days. We had the Musa Muhammad, Bernard Berrien days. Out of all the wide receiver cores that you've seen so far in the last, at least, let's say 15, 20 years, what is the best core that you have seen as a wide receiver group for the Chicago Bears?
That's a tough question.
I got you.
That's a tough question. Oh, wow. Oh, man. I would, talent-wise, I have to say the Brandon Marshall group. I would have to say that it's just like, we didn't necessarily have the success that we hoped for, especially once he came in and he was playing with Jay Cutler. But like that whole group, that whole era was extremely, extremely talented. We just didn't get to where we hoped we were going to get to.
Yeah, I know. Alshon Jeffrey, when he left Chicago, everyone was like, Chicago made a huge mistake. And honestly, we didn't, because we got some draft picks out of it. And we got rid of someone who was just a mess in the locker room. But that Jay Cutler, Brandon Marshall, Alshon Jeffrey, Martellus Bennett squad. Oh, and then Johnny Knox too. Oh man,
let's not even talk about the Johnny Knox, man. That sucks, man. I thought the world. I just knew he was going to be one of those lifelong Bears that you just look at and we're like, he had a hell of a career. But that whole crew, that whole core was just amazingly talented. It's crazy.
And they had Devin Hester sometimes out there too. So you have Brandon Marshall running downfield who can jump over any DB. You have Devin Hester that can fly by anybody. And then Johnny Knox, who was just an insane athlete. I mean, that team, Matt Forte said it in an interview a couple years ago, that team specifically, he's like, that team should have gone to the Super Bowl because the defense was just so talented. And I think Trestman was the coach at that point, and Trestman or was it Lovey's last season at 10-6? I want either of those squads were Super Bowl destined.
Yeah,
so tough, man, so tough. But but going back to this squad right now, they are insanely talented. Who's impressing you the most at camp? Let's throw DJ Moore out of there, because DJ Moore gets a pass. You know that he's going to be the number one guy. Who's impressing you the most at camp, and what Bears fans should be impressed by?
Chase Claypool for sure, because I think that just the way that he's turning the opinion on him in training camp, it just comes in ready to go. Absolutely. And then Tyler Scott for sure. Like I think when you look at those two are the ones that impressed me the most. Velus Jones as well. Like, I'm glad that he's finally turning some heads too, because we all know what he could be with his speed. It's just he couldn't hold on to the ball. I even on Chicago Bear Central, I started nicknaming him Dropsy Jones because he just couldn't hold on to the ball. But
Butterfingers.
if he just holds on to the ball, like if he gets possession of the ball, he's going to be dangerous, especially in the open field. So like, I love just the varying of talent that we have as well. Like you said, DJ Moore, clear number one. We know what Darnell Mooney can bring, especially when he's playing next to a clear number one. And then you also bring in Chase Claypool in the way that he's improved. And then you have the speed from like a Tyler Scott. And like our wide receiver core is, I think, more talented than people are giving us credit for. And I think they're doubting it because of, uncertainty, not seeing it together yet. And people have this doubt around Justin Fields' his ability to throw the ball. But I think we're gonna turn that national opinion on our wide receiver core and our quarterback pretty soon after the season starts, because this group just seems too talented, man. And we're just hearing it, like hearing DJ Moore and Jalen Johnson going at it one-on-one, and then even Velus went at Jalen Johnson a couple. Like, I just feel like this group is talented and they're out to prove it. They all have chips on their shoulders for different reasons. And as we know, as Bears fans, like when that's the identity of the city of Chicago. We're hard workers. We have chips on our shoulder. And so, like, I love it when the team naturally has that. And I think they're going to impress a lot this season.
So something that made me upset today, I'm happy you brought up Velus Jones, was that the fact that he fought Jaquan Brisker, or started I know Velus Jones had a tough day today, and he already is on the roster bubble a little bit, especially after last season. You bring in Tyler Scott, Cruzshank is making a point to potentially make him the undrafted rookie that makes this roster. And Velus Jones struggled today. So I know it's fun seeing him have those flashes of success, because that's what we brought him here for. Yeah. But today I want to hear your thoughts on what my thought process is, and share if you're thinking completely different. But Velus Jones Jr. today, to start a scuffle at camp, at the end of camp, at an open camp, a community camp, which is even, there were fans there with your up-and-coming safety in Jaquan Brisker, and you're starting an argument and then throwing a punch, that's bad vibes to me. The Bears have not had bad vibes at all this offseason. Honestly, they didn't have any last year either. I know that there was a whole thing with, Mario Williams off the field, and obviously Ryan Poles said, see ya, we're not dealing with that. Yeah. But that was I was at work today, and I see, Pat's tweet, ironically, and Briggs' tweet, Greg Bragg's tweet today, not Briggs' tweet. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, stop it now. Stop it now. Someone go up to him, someone stop him. And then of course, Velus Jones is out there for like an hour and a half after practice, trying to make the coaches see like he's working hard. But what was your opinion on the situation? Should there be some disciplinary actions done, or is it just football being football?
I think there should be disciplinary action, in the sense of, I think you need to talk to Velus and set an expectation that this doesn't need to happen. Getting chippy is fine. There's nothing wrong with getting chippy. I'm a football player. You want to get chippy. You want to see that. You want to see players bring it in. And to me, when you get chippy with each other, it means that you both care, right? And I know Jaquan Brisker, he's going to talk stuff. He's going to get in people's heads. That's his job as a safety. But you can't throw a punch at your teammate, especially, like you said, not in an open practice. You just can't do it. It's not acceptable in that case. Talk all the crap you want to talk, but you can't throw punches, man. You can't throw punches.
No, and that's not what Flus has brought in here, or Poles has brought in here. Like, it's a completely different thing.
That's not the meaning of the hits principle.
No. Go to the boxing ring in Hallis Hall and then throw some hits at a bag, but not at your team, especially a starter teammate that has a much better chance of making this roster over you.
Exactly. He's not on believe me, Jaquan Brisker is on no bubbles at all. He's the future, so you can't throw punches at Jaquan.
It's tough. But like you said, I'm fine with the trash talking. I think trash talking is great because, we had a few Bears players on over the last couple of times, and Joaquin Iglesias, our 2009 third round pick, he was on yesterday, talked a lot about how they were always chirping each other at practice. I think that builds a stronger relationship. It keeps guys tough and accountable, especially mentally. And it prepares them for the season. So yeah, I'm with you, man. 100%. All about the trash talking, but not hitting your teammate. But speaking of teammates, of other concern is Nate Davis. Nate Davis was there, all no pads, and then the second pads comes on, he's nowhere to be found. Wasn't at practice. I hope everything's okay off the field. I know a lot of people were concerned that he wasn't at OTAs or anything. He even said, just hanging out with my family. I'm there for them. I'm a big family man. Hopefully nothing's going on, but it's 2 days in a row and we've heard crickets. What is your level of concern right now for Nate Davis?
The fact that we've heard nothing is concerning. I try not to look at things a little bit too much or get too deep with it, but because Nate Davis was your big free agent acquisition on that offensive line. He's the veteran on that offensive line. Yeah, Darnell Wright's going to get all the acclaim and things like that, and most of the notice, but like Nate Davis and his versatility, I think, too, and how he can line up in different places, I expect it to be a huge part of not only the season, but also for training camp to help, work on things with other players, have them line up with certain people. So it's concerning. I'm going to wait and see. Like, if we go through most of this week, which it's already Wednesday, and we don't hear anything else, I'm going to be extremely concerned by the end of this week.
Well, so no practice tomorrow, according to the schedule.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
From
yeah,
what
no
I've seen.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
So there's no practice tomorrow. So it stinks that there's no practice, but also could be a good thing for Davis if he needs that extra time. But, family, I'm with you. Family Fest comes around and Nate Davis is nowhere to be found. I'm shocked no one, like Pat or someone, hasn't asked the question yet. Unless they're being told, don't ask about Nate Davis. That's, a completely different situation. But I'm hoping that someone in the media does say, hey, any word on this situation? And hopefully we'll get some clarity because, like you said, big money acquisition. And he was the guy that we were bringing in instead of potentially drafting a guard earlier in the draft to bring in and make that answer. So, but I feel good about it. Lucas Patrick can fill in if needed, if something. I just hope Nate Davis is okay, whatever is going on. But, Lucas Patrick, Larry Borum, potentially, Carter. The Bears do have depth to take over that spot, but it's nice to have your, Pro Bowl type guard playing out there for him. So
yeah, and I like that you mentioned Larry Borum too, because like from what we've seen from Eberflus and this coaching staff, they plan on using Larry Borum in a lot of different positions. So I mean, he gets that opportunity. J. Tyree Carter too, as well. Like you said, like I'm not against anybody, taking advantage of this opportunity to get more reps, things like that. But we got to have Nate Davis ready to go by the start of the season, man.
I spent a lot of money on a guy. You want him to be out there for sure. So let's switch over to the defense because the defense had a ton of positives today. A lot of people want us to talk about Kyler Gordan. We will. I just want to hit on some of the other guys that really stood out. And we were talking about in the beginning, we were talking about the show, the rookies are going absolutely crazy. This whole entire rookie class is taking the opportunity that they are given and running with it. And I'm going to start off with my guy, Jaquan Brisker Sr. Had another explosive day at Hallis Hall. Day one, he had 2 sacks on Justin Field. Actually didn't hit him. Please don't do that. Jaquan Brisker, you're too big to potentially take out our quarterback for the season. But he had another big day today, absolutely getting in the backfield. Khalil Herbert couldn't go anywhere when he was running towards Dexter, which is good and bad. Good to hear the rookie standing out. But, Terrell Smith was also a huge standout running with the ones again today, the 5th round pick from Minnesota. A lot of people are saying it reminds him of Charles Tillman with how big he is and athletic he is. And it's getting scary. So before we go into like the Kyler Gordon and Jaquan Briskers, how are the rookies feeling for you, Hayes? Like, are you all in on them? Or is there a couple other guys that you want to give a shout out to real quick? But I'm sold on this rookie class so far.
I am 100% sold on this rookie class. And to hear today too, that Noah Sewell had a big practice huge today as well. Yeah. So like, and he's a guy that I look at and I'm like, hey, like our linebacking core is going to be set for a while now, hopefully. So, but I'm completely in on this rookie class. I think that that Poles did an amazing job in this draft. I know some people, wanted other players, and when you make that trade and trade down twice and then get Darnell Wright, and some people having questions about that, but I think he did an amazing job. And Javon Dexter is just he has a level of poise, athleticism, and aggression that you expect from like a third-year player already. He just seems like he's just so advanced. And, you hear that, I came into this offseason expecting it to be Billings, Justin Jones starting, but Javon Dexter's making his case that you're going to have to start him day one.
I know. And that's a good thing because Billings is a crazy talented defensive tackle. And if you rotate him in when your offensive line is already gassed, whether it's Dexter, Jones, or Billings, you're going to have some big problems for opposing offensive lines. So everyone that's saying we need to go out and get an edge, I'm personally like, I'm cool with it. Pickens is also going to be in there. We just picked up Roy off waivers. Who knows if he'll actually make the roster, but I don't know. I'm not concerned about the defensive line anymore as it stands right now. Are you still wanting an edge? What are you feeling about that situation?
Well, see, I've always said, like, I think people were trained, right, to look at the edge, but like with Eberflus' system, the pressure from the interiors almost as important, if not more important than the edge. And I think that's why you've seen him go out and get the level of depth that he has, the rookies that he brought in, the veteran and Billings that he brought in. So I think that I want to wait and see how this offensive line comes together as a whole. And I think that's what Ryan Poles and Eberflus are doing as well. Let's see how they go through training camp. Let's see how maybe they do in the first couple of preseason games before they try to go out and get a veteran and spend money unnecessarily. But I'm really excited about this defensive line. And I also think, to his credit, I think Travis Gibson is lined up for a big season as well.
Yes. I mean, think about it. When he had Robert Quinn, Khalil Mack, he had a 5-sack season and a 7-sack season. And then it dropped off due to the fact that he had no extra help. So he was getting double teamed, triple teamed potentially at points. He was always in the backfield if you look at film. I'm super pumped about Travis Gibson. I said this before, I'll say it again. I see him having at least 8 sacks this year because, Rasheem Green is going to be on the other side, Javon Dexter, all those guys. I don't know. You were about to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt you. What are you feeling for Gibson?
I mean, same thing. I think, and to your point, I've been saying the same thing over at Bear Central for a while. I think people forget just how good Gibson looked when he had an actual whole entire defensive line, like a formidable defensive line in general. And then to your point, like he was double teamed. It was third most double team defensive lineman last season. Like you can't overlook that. I know those are like stats where you can look at and say, well, how much did that really affect things? But like, let's not take away from the impact. I think he's motivated. It's a contract year on top of that. And I think that he, again, like I said earlier, is another one of those players that's heard the doubt around him. And he's coming in ready to prove people wrong this season.
And speaking of people that are wanting to prove people wrong, Kyler Gordan has come into this training camp and absolutely by storm. He's Spider-Man, but, he had a huge interceptions today, pass breakups. He even had a sack today. He was flying all over the field. And Gordan struggled a lot last year, especially in the beginning of the year. And then he kind of picked up the speed of the NFL, got things going for himself. I am pumped for Kyler Gordan. If he keeps this up, he looks bigger, he looks faster. But, from what you've seen, Hayes, so far, how are you feeling about Kyler Gordan right now?
I think he's thriving at the fact that he just has to focus on the nickel position. We used him in the inside and outside last season. He had to, try to be prepared to play both roles. I think we're seeing him thrive, and now that he has one thing to focus on, that's his sole focus, and he's coming in and thriving in that role. And Kyler Gordan, who came on big time towards the end of that season, he had a little bit of a rough start on it. He had a bit of a rough start to his NFL career, and he was getting picked on. But I think he's coming now with the poise, the understanding, and he understands what role and expectations in that role are of him, and he's killing it. I think Kyler Gordan is going to have a season where we realize what the impact that he can have. And I think he's going to get a lot of turnovers. I think he's going to force a lot of pass breakups. And I think he's not going to shy away from anything. And he's thriving in that zone system as well. So love Kyler Gordan.
I'm going to tip my hat to Eddie Jackson for a lot of this help with these younger guys, because he has taken them under his wing and he's shown them what it takes to be a ball hawk and also a hard hitting guy. Yeah. And Kyler Gordan, man, I cannot wait for that first preseason game where Kyler Gordan absolutely just pops somebody and just shows the NFL, okay, that's it. I'm done for the rest of the preseason because, don't want to obviously get hurt. But week 1, Green Bay, I would love nothing more than Christian Watson to go up and get a pass and Kyler Gordan just flies in and levels him. No injury, obviously. Don't wish injury on anybody. But Kyler Gordan, I think, is going to be a huge – same with the rest of the DBs. Let's talk about that real quick, too. Brisker and Stevenson, they've kind of been seen being buddy-buddy, teaming up, even though, Stevenson's obviously on the outside. Smith, Stevenson have been also awesome, too. The entire DB group, I think, is set. The linebacker group is set. The defensive line, we're not totally sure, but we're pretty high on them. I think the defense is in for a huge year. But one thing I want to talk about is Brisker's confidence. Today, after being targeted multiple times, he stepped up to the plate and no one could catch anything by him. And he actually yelled at offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, change my name. And he was up in his grill, letting him know you are not getting anything by me. How are you feeling? We were talking about Brisker a little bit earlier, but just in a long, detailed, however you want to say it, what is your feeling for Jaquan Brisker this upcoming season?
Jaquan Brisker, I think it's going to be.
I'd say Jaquan. Sorry, my bad. My bad.
Listen, no, you're fine. I don't know how. I haven't heard him say it, so I don't know which one of us are right. But like he's going to be a big playmaker. He's going to be a hard hitter. Heck, he led the team in sacks last season. He's just one of those guys who I noticed it early last season. Like he's always around the ball. He always finds his way around the ball. He's just a playmaker. And this is going to be the season where he goes from being somebody that Chicago Bears fans appreciate to, I think, on the national stage, people are going to understand that he has the potential to be one of the best safeties in the game of football. That's truly what I believe. He has the mindset. He has the mentality. He has the skill level. He hits hard. He doesn't miss tackles on top of that. Jaquan Brisker has all the skills, and I think we're seeing him come in. He's built off that confidence that he rightfully deserved last season with his play. Yeah, the team was a 3-14 team, but like he played extremely well, and I think him and his leadership, and to say that somebody in their second year displays leadership on top of that, that just shows that over his career with the Bears, the sky's the limit for him, really.
I just hope he doesn't turn into like a hothead like Jalen Ramsey. I hope that he keeps it cool like he does.
Yeah.
Play like Jalen Ramsey by all means. Please play like Jalen Ramsey. But just keep it cool. Like, I'm excited for him. I love the confidence, like you were saying, the leadership and the maturity of the last two the last two draft classes is insane. Yeah. And Ryan Poles definitely puts that into consideration. Something that I feel really good about. And that leads me into my last question. We're 7 days into full training camp. Tomorrow's a day off, very much needed. Some guys are starting to get injured. Bodies are starting to take a little bit of a toll. And the coaches are like, all right, let's slow it down a little bit. They cranked up the intensity today. But through 7 days, how are you feeling about this Bears team? And, what do you want to see next when they take it to the next level?
I think it's how ready everybody seems to be. Like the defense. I think I'm a defense guy. Don't get me wrong. Yep. And so the Bears, we have that identity of the monsters of the Midway, right? And I think that this is going to be defense that's ready to pick up that mantle as long as that defensive line comes together. Like to your point, linebacking core set. Defensive backs set. The questions that we have is who's going to end up starting, how that defensive line is going to perform. But I have the utmost confidence in this defense ability to perform, and I think that that's going to help this identity. I think that that's going to help really set the tone, and people are going to feel it when they play the Chicago Bears next year. And I think that that's something that I'm taking away the most from it. Like Justin Fields and his growth, I don't want to take away from that. I'm not saying that should come secondary to anything, but it just is a different feel around this defense. And when the Bears defense is on, it's a different level of excitement around Chicago. So
it's Chicago football, baby. Yeah. That's what it's all about. Hard hitting, cold weather, which by the way, every former player I've talked to, they said that playing in the cold was way more painful than you think. But, it doesn't just hurt, them, it hurts the other team too. So, yeah. I got to agree with you on all your points, kind of what you're saying. Today was a big focus on the defense. It wasn't more about Fields' development because we've seen it. It's there. It's proven that it's there. A lot of people are hyped about it. He's getting national recognition. But this defense is what's really going to blow some people away because it is young. And, you guys got guys like Jack Sanborn, who unfortunately didn't practice today. He's dealing with a small injury. Hopefully he'll be back later this week. But DeMarcus Walker, who all over social media was probably the most known workout guy this past offseason. There's a lot to look forward to with this Bears team. I'm very excited about it. One more guy that I think there needs to be more of a hyper focus on is Khalil Herbert, because right now he is leading the running back room and he's struggling still with pass blocking. Today, they were spotted doing some pass blocking drills. He looked better with pads on at least. But Saturday, when I was there with a few other people, he was getting blown up. That's one thing that I want the hyper focus to be on, because Bears are also known for their running backs. And Khalil Herbert definitely has to take that torch and run with it. But overall, I think we're both excited for the season. What do you say?
Oh, for sure. I haven't been this excited about a season in a long time, and I think that excitement's going to come through, man. Throughout all of it, this is an exciting year. This is really last year was the start of it, but it's a new era of Chicago Bears football, and I think that we're going to see it this year. And you kind of talked a little bit off air. I have high expectations for this Bears team this year. High expectations.
And you and I will get together before the season starts and we'll drop our official record predictions. I've done it a million times, but we'll do one more before the season starts, Hayes. But Hayes, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. Excited to be working with you in the future. And, love your channel, love what you guys are doing over at Bears Central, and I can't wait for this season.
And same, man. Thank you for having me, brother.
Absolutely. And with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody, joined alongside Hayes from Chicago Bears Central, and we'll see you guys next time.